Welcome to the Activate presentation on smartphone user onboarding. We'll be discussing how operators can use Activate solutions to improve their user experience when signing up for smartphones. So a bit of background very quickly. Smartphone market going mad. 1.2 billion handsets shipped last year, with Nielsen expecting the numbers to get 50-50 in the US this year. So by the back end of this year, 50% of the phones sold will be smartphones in the US, which translates into about 336 million smartphone units are forecast to be shipped this year. And Enders is expecting 80% penetration of the UK market by 2014, which is to say that actually 15% more people will have a broadband connection in their pocket than they do in their house. This translates into a significant increase in the amount of data that's consumed from mobile devices. Cisco predicting it's going to double every year for the next at least 3 years. Doesn't seem unreasonable. And the guys at Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg talking about how they strategically expect everything to move to smartphones in the future. So there's no doubt more smartphones being shipped. The question really becomes one about who are the users and what are they doing with their phones. So the users, historically are using their phones to get them out of the box, and they're playing with the cameras, uploading contacts, personalizing them, and so on and so forth. Not a surprise. And I think we've identified 3 specific different types of users. We've identified newbies who will be using smartphones for the first time ever, won't have any experience of any other type of phone. We have what we're calling switchers, who are people who are using smartphones right now and will be switching from one smartphone to another. And then we have the upgraders, who will be switching from a feature phone where they have some experience of making calls and using their mobile and perhaps texting as well. They'll be upgrading from a feature phone into a smartphone. So if you will indulge me, we'll take a look at the switchers story, which is perhaps a little bit less obvious. Dave knows all about the technology. He's very happy. Smartphone user, gets a lot of benefit from it. His iPhone is coming out of contract. He's been into a shop where they've persuaded him that he wants to move over to an Android device, and we'll just take a quick look at what that will mean for Dave. So Dave is currently buying everything for his phone from iTunes. Apple is selling him music, applications, and movies. Everything that he needs is coming in through iTunes, which he understands very well. He will be changing ecosystems and will have to move over to the Android marketplace, which, if he's lucky, will look like this, and if he's not, will be a little bit more difficult for him to understand how to access his applications. For music, he can continue to use iTunes, or he can use something else such as this, which is a double twist view. Dave's also got to think about his accessories. He quite likes his goofy iPhone case. He's got a dock at home. He's got some quite high-end earphones. Are they going to work with his new phone? Because certainly the chargers and the base stations and the things that he's got already, they're not. And finally, Dave's got to think about all the apps that he uses. So he's comfortable with his set of apps. He's very happy using the things that he likes. Now he's got to rediscover them and find out which apps he's going to have to, which ones he can get like for like in a different operating system, and which ones are going to need full rediscovery. So we have our users. These kind of issues apply to the newbies and the upgraders. And the key thing is that they all happen within the first 30 days of smartphone ownership. So actually, none of those issues is something which continues for very long. The users need to overcome them immediately if they're not going to get upset and return their phones. So this kind of deluge of new users has got some fairly interesting implications from an operator point of view. Most operators will recognize at least some of these symptoms, and we fully expect them to get worse. So returns, smartphone returns going up, no doubt about it. Particularly in the no fault found category. Users not very patient, they'll bring it back or they'll send it back if they can't get to grips with it. Call handling times, average handling times going up as a result of smartphone users calling in to find out how they do various things, contacts or download apps and these sorts of things. As an operator, operators have made assumptions around apps, and some of the apps that they're developing themselves have business cases around call deflection and these sorts of things. Those app assumptions are based on discovery. Customer satisfaction, if operators are becoming disintermediated as iPhone users are being talked to increasingly by Apple. Data usage needs to be encouraged, so it's really about trying to get users to get to grips with data so that they can start using the data services that the operators are providing. And obviously accessories, which is a big opportunity that operators are not really maximizing, particularly as new customers come on board in this smartphone category. Manufacturers are tending to take things out of the box and remove accessories in order to keep costs down, which means that the customers need extra memory, they need all sorts of things which used to be in the box. So operators are faced with this set of challenges, and the question is how best to respond. So some people think that this idea of dealing with them in store is a good idea. There's no doubt that there's lots of stores, and therefore it would make quite good sense to offer some form of walkout working service. But you can see from this that 15 minutes is the kind of time. If you're going to do it either on the phone or in store, it needs to be capped at 15 minutes, and the number of things that need to happen on a phone are fairly significant. If we're going to sell 20 million units in the UK, even at 15 minutes a unit, that's still about 400,000 man days of people setting up phones for these new smartphone users. So the reality behind physically doing this in store is that it's not scalable. And we have some experience previously. Our colleagues, some friends at Orange, had phone trainers. That was in 2003, and didn't last very long. So the alternative to do it on the phone is not really a viable alternative, because either it's proactive, in which case you have a problem with customer availability, or it becomes reactive in the sense that when the customer's got a problem, they phone you up. The operators handling the calls need to be able to be familiar with all the different phone operating systems, which is a fairly significant task, particularly at the level of detail where customers need to know how to change very specific settings. And finally, it's very hard on the end of a telephone to explain to people how to do things which are inherently complicated. So, we believe that Activate has got the need for an online-based solution to help customers get to grips with their phones within the first 30 days is unquestionable. And how we do that is that we provide a kind of three-step process. Firstly, we send customers an SMS, and that requires the data connection to be set up on their handset, because it provides a link to a web page. So you can see there the web page link in the text message, which drives customers to our handset detection engine. If you feel so inclined, you can use the QR code to see whether we can detect your handset. Handset detection engine will actually decide which device the customer is coming in on. So, out of 4,500 plus, it's about 4,800 devices, we can detect which device the customer has, and we ask them to provide their email address, at which point we know their email and we know which device they have. So we send them to our content server, which can be hosted on your site, but really contains some kind of key areas, allowing customers to do very specific things relevant to the first 30 days of ownership of their new smartphone. So we show them how to set up the contacts, to personalize it, to use the camera, and those main activities. We also allow them to buy additional accessories for those phones. We help them discover apps for their phone, and we believe we've got a fairly interesting story around what we do for video and how we help people take advantage of the video, a fairly unique video presentation format. So really, the reason that we think you should be considering the Activate solution from a telco perspective is that there's no integration. Our solution is totally standalone. We don't need you to tell us what handsets your customers have got. We figure that out. It's fully hosted, so you don't have to worry about the content. We can inject it into your servers and make it look like it's your content, but in reality we can host the solution entirely on our side. We only concentrate on the first 30 days. Obviously customers come back, and they do come back to remember what we've told them, but from our perspective it's about that initial usage which helps you accelerate data usage and show customers your existing apps. We've also found that there's a couple of interesting other aspects to the solution regarding the ability to double opt-in customers at this stage. It's quite a good touch point, and it's quite easy for them to double opt-in. And we're also providing social compatibility, so the pages that you serve can have social integration into Facebook. We allow comments on it so that people can rate, and you can actually collect in that first 30 days. You can collect quite a lot of information back from the customers. So whistle stop tour. I'd like to thank you for listening, and if you're interested, please feel free to get in touch with us. Many thanks.